Welcome to Women of a Certain Stage, the podcast redefining how we think about menopause. I'm your host, Lauren Turin, a passionate advocate for breaking the stigma and empowering individuals to navigate this transformational stage of life with confidence and clarity. Here, we're diving into a new era of menopause support, featuring expert advice, real-life stories, and actionable insights. Whether you're curious about building your personal menopause plan or you're looking to make an impact, you're in the right place. Let's embrace the change together. I am so super excited to see you today, and I read your recommendation on LinkedIn yesterday, so I was really excited to read that. That was fab. So today I want to hear more about where you're at right now. And before we just dive into what's happened this week, could you just tell a little bit about yourself to anyone that's listening so that they've got a feel for who you are, where you're at, and anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been a personal trainer since 2015. I'm now in the Peak District, but I have moved around a lot in my life. I've been in London and Scotland and the States and Hong Kong. But I think I found my joy training people in the Peak District now. I have done the corporate. I do have the corporate background as well. I spent 15 years in the corporate world, but helping women primarily, helping women move more strong is what I'm really, really drawn to. So as one of the reasons, obviously, why I ended up going for this course, just because I wanted to help and support women even more in what I do.
So you're now a fully certified menopause coach, and
I am as of the 5th. What do we know?
Amazing. So by the time people are hearing this, you already have a couple of months under your belt of being a postgrad. So that'll be amazing. So tell me a little bit about being in the Peak District, because it's a beautiful part of the country. And what was it that drew you to that area?
The outdoors. I mean, that's that's the answer. I don't know if you know Sheffield, the city. I don't want to offend any people from Sheffield, but it's not the prettiest city in the world, although I have lived in Aberdeenshire as well. I'm not sure that is either, offending everybody. But the outdoors, the Peak District on your doorstep, it's just incredible here. And I just think it's underrated as well, which isn't a bad thing, actually. Like, it's beautiful. I was born about an hour away, so it's not completely off track that I have ended back up here. But just being out, I've already been out today, I'll be out later. Just, as much as I can do, like getting my clients outside as well. But the running, like being outdoors is really important to me. I
think so much of the time we are stuck inside, especially if we're doing a corporate job or if we are working from home. We get up, we may or may not get dressed. We might just put a hoodie on and then end up at our desk and don't really make much time to move. I mean, I have very fortunate, I've got a big garden where I can go out and I can do things. I've got a gym at the end of the garden, being a former PT. And yet, you might see behind me, for anyone listening, what I'm pointing to is a punch bag. I have my punch bag in my study so that I do something every day. Otherwise, I used to have a trampette in here or a rebounder, and I used to have, a couple of I've still got a couple of kettlebells, but they get dusted every week now. And I think it's so easy just to get stuck being sedentary. And I'm guilty of that, even as a former PT. If I'm not building up for a race, then I might not get my walks or my runs in every day in the way that I would do if I've got a race coming up. So, I think it's...
Absolutely. Yeah, it is hard. I think we have so much happening in our lives. Like, I'm a personal trainer. That is the main part of what I do. And I still have to make time, like really have to focus on making that time. Otherwise, I will sit at my laptop all day. And I don't succeed every day. And that's me being a personal trainer, and it is my job. So you'd think it's the easiest thing in the world, but it isn't. There's always another email.
another outreach.
Trying to make sure there isn't always another email, because you have to have to make that
Yeah,
time.
and I think the reality is of running your own business is that we have to spend a significant amount of time on admin, on marketing, on sales. Otherwise, we lose that pipeline of business coming through as well. So often, I think when people are
Yeah.
thinking about training to be a PT or thinking about training to be a coach, that they're like, oh, I'm going to, all my working time is going to be spent delivering. And I'm like, no, about 2/3 of it, at least in the beginning, is going to be spent marketing, networking, admin,
Yeah.
all of that.
You are everything. When you're your own business, you do everything. You do all the admin, you do your own marketing, you do your own sales, you've got to put yourself out there, nobody's doing it for
Yeah.
you. There's always something to do, but that's what I
Yeah.
like about it. Definitely, that's
Yeah,
what I
the
like.
flexibility and the freedom to be able to work the hours you want to work, fit in other things in your life as well. And just looking back round to that piece about motivation, because one of the things I definitely knew to be true when I was a PT was I'd have a client see me 3, maybe 4 times a week, beautifully throughout the year, hit all their goals, do everything that they were supposed to do. Then they would go off on holiday, or there'd be a family event, or there would be some goodness, maybe something negative had happened, and they'd go away from the sessions for a while. And they wouldn't quite end up back at square one, but they would definitely slide back down the hill a little bit again because, training wasn't their priority. They had other things that came along. And I, being a PT and being someone that was always really super fit and always did, so much in the sports space, I could never really understand why someone paid me to train them, because I thought it was like the most natural thing in the world to do. And then menopause came along. And I have to say that I really lost my training mojo. I was back in corporate, I wasn't working as a PT, but I just found it really easy to not even make an excuse not to train, just not to even think about it. So how do you work with people when they are maybe losing that same motivation they might have had before menopause came along?
It is really hard. I see so often how it really hits the women I'm training physically, in that they feel they're becoming
Mm-hmm.
unfit for various reasons, but also really importantly, like, it's the
Yeah.
mental shift. It just knocks their confidence, and it's that part of what I realized as being a personal trainer, and this is where your course really helped, is that mental side of it, that mental shift,
Mm-hmm.
helping them understand what is happening, but also come to terms with it and not talk to themselves so negatively about it. And
Mm-hmm.
part of that is me
Yeah.
being there going, yeah, we can
Yeah.
do the exercise. Actually,
Yeah.
getting you to the exercise, that's the easy part. Getting you to talk
Yeah.
nicely to yourself, or getting you to be kind to yourself, or getting you to understand that, okay, today maybe you don't have to go and run that run, and you don't need to beat yourself up about it, because we'll look at when you
Yeah.
can do it, when you are
Yeah.
feeling better in yourself, when you are feeling a bit stronger. Um, there's a lot that goes on that isn't just the
Mm-hmm.
physical side of things, and it's really trying to build that connection with the woman I
Mm-hmm.
am training. Because if they aren't willing to, if they don't feel comfortable opening up to me, then that obviously makes it a
Mm-hmm.
lot harder, because I can tell somebody to exercise, I can tell them what to do,
Yeah.
but if I don't know how they are feeling physically and mentally at any given
Yeah.
time, I'm not going to know how
Yeah.
best to support them or understand what they might
Yeah.
need in that.
And I remember there was one session, I can't remember which session it was now, but there was one session that I always invite feedback, don't I, during the program. I'm always like, any thoughts, any feedback, any questions, any breakthroughs, any challenges, whatever. And I remember there was a point during the program and you were like, I wasn't sure about this thing. And I said, okay, would you be open to be coached? And I think I took you through.
Yeah.
Can you remember what that was? Can you remember what it was that you were like, I'm not sure about this? And then we ended up exploring it. I can't remember. I can't remember
Oh
what the
God.
actual.
I know it was that. I know it was it was around about session
Yeah.
three. Something to, I think it was after session three.
This is in the menopause plan.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we just done the reset. We did the
maybe it
reset.
was
So we'd
take.
done mindset hydration and we'd moved into the reset cleanse at that point, hadn't we? But you
I think it was,
go, no, no, go
sorry,
on.
about, maybe it was about the
Yeah.
nutrition side of things, knowing, like, if they were saying they were maybe eating really well already, and I felt that they were ticking all of
Mm.
the boxes that I
Yeah.
would ask them as a PT. But then you were showing me why it was still important to go through that in case there were things that I weren't picking up
I
on,
think
maybe.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember like I asked you, would you be willing to be coached in front of the group? And you very bravely turned around and
Yeah,
said yes. And it's something I rarely do, but I felt like there was an energy around the whole menopause plan in terms of, because I'm very much of the belief as a coach, unlike as a PT, but as a coach, we don't tell our clients what to do. Rather, we guide them
yeah,
through that. And that
yeah,
even with our movement, even with our nutrition, whatever we're doing could be absolutely spot on. But like anybody, we've always got at least, 0.1% room for improvement. And I always equate that to like an athlete. They might have won a gold medal, but they want to make sure they win the Nooks gold medal. So they're looking in every part of their life to see what are the levers that they can move. I remember you dropped me a note afterwards just saying that something had suddenly clicked.
I think I know as a personal trainer, I have been doing it for a while now, over 11 years. I'm very much used to telling people.
Exactly.
Like, that's why they come to me. They want to be told what to do. I am taking part of the thinking away from them. Whereas I've really had to
Yeah.
shift how I think and how I work. And I've also had to, like, my natural reaction is to
Yeah.
tell. Whereas with during the program, I really like had to remember I need to coach. And I think it's been a brilliant shift, like genuinely, even for my personal training, I think it's been a really important shift for me. But it was
Yeah.
a very hard shift, and it's still
Yeah.
going on. We're still in the early days, but I very much now, even in my daily personal training work, try and coach and listen a lot more before I immediately go into this is what you
Yeah.
should be
How do
doing.
you think that's impacting your work and your clients' results by making that shift in the appropriate times? Because obviously, as a PT, you absolutely are telling your clients what to
Hmm.
do, but just having that shift in approach with them, how do you feel that's impacting?
I think giving them more of a space to talk about how they're feeling, and this it's not turning into it, making sure it's not turning into a therapy session, that it's still a PT session, but just know giving them that space to feel comfortable saying, somebody was telling me about their pelvic floor issues and what they were doing about it, and I don't think they would have opened up to me about that if I hadn't have just left a little bit of space for them to feel comfortable about it. So it just means that them being able to tell me about it, I can then react and help them. And so they then see me in a better light as well, because they're like, oh, she really understands what is happening to me. And I really understand what's happening to them because they've told me. Like, I haven't
Yeah.
done anything, they've told me, but then I'd be able to go,
Yeah.
okay, great. Now that I know
Uh-huh.
this piece of information that maybe they wouldn't tell me before,
Yeah.
now we can work even better together. Now I can
Yeah.
really dial in what I'm giving you to do.
Amazing. So, before you did the Menopause Coach Diploma, what type of clients were you working with, and what sort of issues were you seeing in those clients?
It is primarily, I've always worked primarily with women. I always gravitated towards me. I've gravitated towards working with women. I have absolutely worked with plenty of guys, especially in Scotland, worked with lots of farmers. But and I think it's been interesting as I look back. The older I have got, so I've gone through my 30s as a PT. I'm now in my sort of nearly mid 40s. It's my clientele have grown with me as well, and I think one of the things that has always appealed to my female clients is that I'm not a 20-year-old personal trainer. There's nothing wrong with being a 20-year-old personal trainer, but a 50-year-old woman doesn't always
Yeah.
immediately connect with a 20-year-old personal trainer because that person, male or female, doesn't really understand where they're coming from. Whereas as a woman who's going through perimenopause, I understand where my clients are coming from, and we can talk about it in a very different way because I can include
Yeah.
my experience as well. So, yeah, I would say the people who come to me, it's primarily for strength reasons. They want to feel strong as they're getting older, but if you just dig a little bit deeper, it will often be because they are feeling the effects
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
perimenopause. And it has been like that for a while, but they might not know that, they might not realize it, they might not connect the dots. But a lot of it is that underlying thing. But it's great that I see it's not about dieting as much as maybe when I first started 10 years ago. It really is, I want to be
Yeah.
strong, I want to build some muscle for how I look now, but also for my future
Yeah.
self. And I
Yeah,
love
that's
that.
such a big shift in the industry, isn't it? Because I trained back in 1999.
Mm,
So when I was training as a PT, even how we were trained as PTs has changed quite a lot. So it's really interesting when I look at courses now and how they've developed and taking the shift away from, the number of calories you're eating or the types of calories you're eating and focusing much more on the strength, flexibility, the endurance.
yeah.
And I want to look back round to something you said, which was, you blew me away a little bit because you just said, in Scotland it was farmers. I was like, I think of farmers as big, burly, very active people. I mean, they might not have the most healthy lifestyle, right? I never would have imagined a farmer coming for personal training. What drives a PT?
Honestly, it's brilliant. I used to love it. Because there was, so I'm obviously not going to name any names, but there was very specific reason the farmers came to me, these
Uh,
male farmers, because they wanted girlfriends and they thought six pack would help
brilliant.
with it. So it was a very, very specific modus operandi. I'm still friends with a couple of them and get the updates. So they were strong, but they want that. That was very much,
Aesthetic.
oh, what you say, aesthetic. Yeah, it was very much for
Yeah.
aesthetic
Oh, that's
purposes.
fantastic. I had to look back round to that because as soon as you said farmers, it's like, I grew up in Scotland, and I lived in a semi-rural area. So we had, there'd be, I can't remember what they used to call them, young farmers events. And they'd have these barn dances and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Young
yeah.
farmers.
And I always thought of them as pretty fit and able. So yes, now I have a whole other viewpoint on.
I know. It was. They were always. It was so lovely as well because they. I think they also came for dating advice. It was like they felt comfortable being able to talk to me. They, as we were doing whatever the bench press, they'd be like, and so if a girl says this to you over text message, what does that
Oh,
mean? I'm like, okay, this is what it means.
oh, I love that. There's a whole other side to your business potentially. I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant. So, at what point did you go, I want to learn some more about menopause? How did you start thinking along? What was it that provoked you to learn more?
I can't necessarily pinpoint an exact moment in time. I think it was something that was coming more into my scope of awareness on different levels. I think it was more of a convergence. So I started going through perimenopause and feeling the effects in
Mm-hmm.
physically in my training. So I was looking into it more for me, like what can I do? My clients were talking more about it because I think it's become something that you
Mm-hmm.
can talk more about.
Yeah.
They were coming to me going, not necessarily I'm going through perimenopause, I want to get stronger, but it'd be something along the lines of, oh, I've heard that I've seen on television that, you're going to lose your muscle mass. So I want to make sure I'm getting stronger. So it was all these it was all these
Mm-hmm.
different influences, and then it has been talked about in the media more. And I thought, I know that I'm doing my self learning, and
Mm-hmm.
this is great, but I could do with something a bit more structured. Structured, and like I don't have to do this, but I came at it from a personal perspective, but also from a business
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Like, if I can offer something more, is this also going to help me elevate my business
Mm-hmm.
offering? Because it's important. It is, it's just me. So I want to make sure that I'm
Mm-hmm.
always building on what I can offer and how I can help people, but also, financially
Mm-hmm.
continue to make
Mm-hmm.
money.
Amazing. And what was it that drew you to women of a certain stage as opposed to any of the other programs that are available?
So I did a really, I can't even remember the name of it, a short course, and it was just one of the
Mm-hmm.
self-paced one. So, it was great. I think the information honestly was
Mm-hmm.
great. Like, it was very
Mm-hmm.
factual. It
Yeah.
was, boom, 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 very factual. And then I got to it. I sort of did each module, just downloaded each module, printed it out, read it, and then filed
Yeah.
it away. And I thought, okay, this is sort of like having a book.
Mm,
Like I haven't done much more than
mm,
reading somebody's book here because I haven't interacted, I haven't done anything that useful with this. It's now sort of filed away. And then, so I thought that wasn't, I was like, oh, that wasn't quite what I
mm.
was, it's given me some first step, but it's not enough. And then I wasn't necessarily, I don't even know. I just remember I was sitting on a bus from Sheffield City Centre, which I don't think I've done since because it's about an hour and a half out to where
Uh,
I live. And then you were doing a talk, and it was a whole hour, 10 minutes talk that I'd found somewhere on the internet. I don't even know how, and I don't even know who we were talking to, but it was just an hour and 10 minutes, and I was like, oh, I'll listen to this because I've got a whole bus journey. And by the end of it, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. So I think I must have Googled it the
mm,
day after because that was quite late, and then I had a call
mm.
with you almost straight away, and it must have been about this time last year because I vaguely thought about doing the
Hmm.
March cohort. Was it
Yeah,
March
yeah,
or was it
March.
May? But it was starting like the
Mm,
next, yeah, it was starting 2 days later, and I had a
yeah,
lot of other, not responsibilities, but I had a lot of other
yeah.
things that I knew were happening in the next few months. So I thought
Mm,
this isn't the right time, but I will put my name down for September, which at the time seemed
mhm.
really far away. I remember thinking, well, that's ages
Amazing. So,
away.
what were the kind of key as you were going through the program? You've obviously, I think a lot of the self-paced programs, you're right. You've done a great explanation of. It's a bit like having a very expensive book, and you have to print it
Yeah.
yourself. And although it's packed full of information, there's no implementation. You don't know how accurate it is or when it was last updated either. So you came onto this program, which is completely different for many reasons. But what were the key things that you took away from the program? What were the things that you really did enjoy about it?
I think there's two standout things. Um, obviously, we'll say like obviously the content's excellent, so sort of putting that one away. But like that really stood out for me was the live sessions
Mm,
on the Friday because they made me turn up, but also the fact that more than just the live, the fact that I think you say you need to join at least 14 of
yeah,
18 of them,
12,
and it's
12 out of
easy for
18.
me to
Yeah, yeah.
12 out of 18. It's very easy for me to be like, oh, I'm doing something on Friday. I'll just
Yeah.
listen back to this. And then I know when I'm listening back, I'm not quite getting the full experience of it. It's not quite going in because I'm probably, in all honesty, doing something
Mm,
else
mm.
at the same time as listening back. So you saying, and I think I actually thought it was 14, so I think I gave myself even less leeway, which isn't a
Yeah.
bad thing. Um, I was like, okay, I have
Mm,
to be here. This is really important. I'm here. And then when I was there, it was full
mm,
focus. I wasn't doing anything else. I was in for that time. So that was
mm,
critical for me. But also the case studies, having my
mm,
practice clients has been amazing. Like absolutely amazing. Um, I think that implementation, practicing of it, that implementation, and for me, I chose women who I didn't know
mm,
very well, but they were I actually, and we had two that you needed to have, but I've actually done four. Um, and they've all been, or three of them out of the four have been incredibly athletic,
mm,
active women. So one is a trail running, ultra trail
mm,
running coach. Another one is a competing athlete. And I wanted these women, even though it scared me, thinking, can I give them something? It's been brilliant to really challenge myself and push myself in that way and work with women as my practice clients, them knowing that they are
yeah.
practice clients as well, which has been important because I've been like, yeah, actually this really helps them. And this is these are the women that I would love to
Yeah.
work with going forwards
What sort of
now.
takeaways did they have, and what sort of takeaways did you have from taking them through that as practice clients?
Mindset has been a huge thing. So there's the factual side of things, but say like the coach that I was training, she like knows everything, but still for her, not everything, but she knows a lot. But the mindset, she's like, I didn't realize how negatively I was talking to myself, or I felt about
Mm.
myself during this time, or how much I've gone inwards on myself. And this has really helped me like come out of my shell a bit more. She said to me, my friends have said, you're back.
Wow.
Like we feel like we don't know what's happened, but we feel like you have come back to us. And so I think it wasn't even necessarily about her in an athletic environment. It was about her as a person. She hadn't
Mm-hmm.
looked at that side of her. She'd seen how perimenopause was affecting her training. So she'd read up about all of that and she was doing lots of stuff, but she hadn't noticed that she'd gone in on herself, that she wasn't socializing, that she didn't like wearing her clothes, and just that whole
Mm-hmm.
mental load and mental impact. And she's like, it really is helping me like
Mm-hmm.
unpack that.
That's so important.
So
And it's such a common thing that we do when we go through perimenopause is that withdrawing and, that disconnect with the people
yeah,
around us. I see it happen all the time and, to a greater or lesser degree. And obviously that's one of the things we need to watch for in our clients as well, because the less they're connecting and interacting with other people, the more the stories they're telling themselves in their head become their reality because they've got no one to
mm,
challenge them. And that's where people can really catastrophize everything that's going on around them, stop trusting anyone that they previously trusted, relationships break down, and all sorts of other things can potentially happen as well. So that's really exciting for me to hear you say that that's what happened for her, because I think often people say, it's good to become a menopause coach. Like, well, I'm going to learn everything about menopause and be able to tell everybody what they should be doing and not be doing. And I know in your cohort particularly, it was interesting because there were 2 or 3 people who very much wanted just the information to then be able to say to folk, well, this is what you should be doing and this is how you should be doing it. Whereas, and I'm very happy for people to do that. That's completely fine if that's what they want to do and they've got the appropriate background to be able to do that. What I'm always conscious of is the fact that as a menopause coach, we're not there to tell our clients what to do, but we are there to guide them on that journey.
yeah,
So yeah, it's really fascinating for me to hear what the practice clients take away at the end of the sessions, because it proves to them that they've benefited, even though they know they're a practice client. And I think you made another point there, which is really valuable as well, is that I'm overly emphasizing with my students that they must tell their practice clients that they're practice clients, because I want my students to be able to walk in and play around with the material, play around with the script. And if
yeah,
it doesn't ring true as they're saying what I'm presenting, then you get a chance to go, hey, look, can I just say that another way? Can I just try that a different way? Let me try that again. I'm not sure I'm so keen on that question. I'm going to just position it differently. And I think when you've got someone who has an expectation that they're a client, don't have to be paying, but you set someone up as a practice client, set someone up as a regular client, it's a very different impact on your psychology going into it and on their psychology as well. So I love the fact that, you set them up with them knowing that. And I love the fact that you took yourself out your comfort zone with the people that you took that through as well. Phenomenal. So
yeah.
what was it originally like, going back, when you think about when you first decided to train as a PT, what was it? Because going from corporate to PT, I mean, I did that. I went from corporate to PT, but what was it that made you make that switch originally?
I think it's more that I should never have been in corporate. So I think, long story short, I think I've always battled against what I felt I was expected to do and what I was good at. I was very academic. I did all the things I was meant to do, went to uni, did all of that, and then just went into what I think I felt that I should be doing, or actually even what I just was a natural path, because that just was the natural path. And I know that potentially sounds incredibly old fashioned even now, but personal trainer with that was not an option. Like, I know it might sound really silly that that wasn't an option, but it just it wasn't. I just not something I ever thought of. But then just there was always that battle of struggling about who I really was and what I really enjoyed and what I got fulfillment from and contentment, and always being unhappy in a corporate job. Like, I was good at it, don't get me wrong, I was good at the job, but it wasn't anything that I ever enjoyed, and I think it very much stifled
Yeah.
who I was. I've always been a very active,
Yeah.
always been an incredibly active person, outdoorsy person, and it was more that shift of, okay, I need to make this
Mm-hmm.
change at some point. Like I have to
Yeah.
make this change if I want to, and it's just that I think it took a
Mm.
while to work out who I was and what I wanted to do, and have the courage
Yeah.
to do it as well. Because when you've gone through this system of boom, 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 I could have easily
Yeah.
stayed in corporate. Like I was going up the ladder, and it wasn't that anything particularly went wrong. I was just on that track. It was just knowing that that
Mm.
wasn't the right path for me, and then having that time to be like, okay, well, I've got to make that shift at some point. And it wasn't smooth either, because I did stop, became a personal trainer, and then had a wobble about 5 years in, and went back into corporate
Mm-hmm.
for 4 years. So it it wasn't right, this, I've made this
Uh-huh.
decision, I'm happy with it,
Mm-hmm.
everything's fine. It's been a
Mm-hmm.
learning curve.
It is so funny because a couple of things came up for me there. One was I actually remember the day sitting on my cream sofa in my living room in Chippenham, phoning my parents and telling them I'd left my corporate job, which was very well paid. I was an operations director of an organisation, and telling them that I just invested £3,000 to become a personal trainer. And I remember them just basically being, I think, I'll be polite about it, in shock. But their question at the end of it was like,
Mm,
why would you give up a career like that to be a personal trainer?
yeah.
And I remember that very conversation, like they were just absolutely flabbergasted. They couldn't get their heads around it. And I think that just, I completely resonate with what you're saying, but also there's another bigger point for perhaps our future clients as well, which is that we were brought up, and I'm a good bit older than you, but we were brought up, my generation, your generation, were brought up at a time when we did kind of just conform and do the next thing. And if further education was available to us, we went from school to uni or further education. We then took the milk round jobs, or we did something next that was expected of us. And
Yeah.
we just kept on going, and we never stopped to question it. And I think that you broke that mold for sure and have continued to break that mold. But there's so many people out there who are probably listening to this now going, I never even thought it was possible for me to break the mold.
It's terrifying. And that's why I did go
Mm.
back into corporate for a bit, because it suddenly all hit me, and it wasn't the smooth sailing that I'd hoped it was,
Mm.
because you are working for yourself. So I did panic, and then I went back in, and then it was like that time I was like, what? This is like, my brother was like, Nicole, what are you
Oh.
doing? I was like, I don't know why I did this. Um, and now I'm
Mm.
fully, invested in this. There is no more wobbles. I think it's been
Yeah.
such a long time now. Nobody would give me a job back in corporate, which is good, because there isn't that safety net anymore. But now I'm also much more
Uh,
confident and comfortable with what I do. Moving to the Peak District and out of
yeah.
London helped for a variety of reasons as well. I think when you're in London, it's very easy to stay in
Yeah.
that London bubble. Um, but yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I'm sure it continues to be as
I did
well.
something similar because I worked part time as a business consultant while I was running my PT business. So I kind of kept
Mm,
a foot in. I think,
yeah,
especially at the beginning, because I was so used to having the salary and the income, that I felt like I needed to have that type of lifestyle until I built the PT business up. And I did something similar with this business, which was I worked part time in my son's school for about 3 or 4 years, just a couple of days a week during term time,
mm,
just so that the bills were covered. So I think it's kind of, for me, it was a confidence thing, but it was also a financial thing as well, about just, having that
yeah,
balance as well. And I think the point that was coming up for me is that there isn't any one right way to build a business or to make a transition or to do big change in your life. So you're living in the Peak District. You're supremely qualified personal trainer, menopause coach. What other strings have you got to your bow that you share when you're working with your clients?
I'm not sure. Um,
You bring your corporate leadership, your
I
ability to transition from one living in one place to another, living overseas. Because
yeah,
we're never one thing,
there,
are we? We're
I,
not just the personal trainer or
No,
the menopause coach. We're all of the things all melded together, really.
we are. And one of the things I think I've struggled with is how do you, because I do have other
Mm-hmm.
skills. I think we often do, but it's there maybe what you'd call soft skills that, like communication, for example. Like I think, quite a good communicator. And one of the reasons that I have been able to build a business well is because I can talk to people and build a rapport with people, and then that's a good way, especially locally,
Mm-hmm.
to get a
Yeah.
clientele because they are drawn to you. Like if they like you, they don't actually know if you're a good PT or not. Like they presume you are a good PT, but it's they are what draws them is you
Mm-hmm.
initially. And so I think that's always been one of the things. I don't mind putting myself out there either. Like I will go to networking events and I will like talk to people. So um and but I think it is that blend of, I do have a corporate background. I do understand that world to some degree. I have lived in lots of different places. Um, and so I have quite a broad vision
Mm-hmm.
of the world and people, which I think's quite helpful for me. It's worked to my
Yeah.
advantage, I
And
think.
now going forward, how do you create your week or your month? Does that change and vary throughout the year, or do you have a pattern, or does it just continually evolve?
It continually evolves. I mean, on a weekly basis, it's probably quite similar. I have my regular in-person clients. I have my regular online clients. Lots of Scottish clients. Majority of my online clients are all Scottish. Um, and then around that, I am trying to always evolve my business. So, for example, now where I'm at is really looking at how I can build the coaching that I have done with you, how I can build that into my offering, but in a way, a very visible way. So not just using the knowledge I've got with the clients I have in a personal training setting. It's how can I say I am this menopause coach. I can help you and create that as another, not necessarily another part of my business, but like bring it into my business as an entity in itself rather than just sort of putting it into what I already do and not necessarily shouting about it, because it is something I'm proud of and it's something I want to build on, and I think that there is a lot of opportunity
Yeah.
there
So
as
fast
well.
forward over the next year, where would you like to be this time next year?
I would love to have an online program that builds in the menopause coaching. I would love to focus it on, at the start anyway, on active women who potentially are struggling now that perimenopause has hit them with their training and their identity, and just knowing how to navigate that difficult time when suddenly your running might not be feeling as good, your training might not be feeling as good, but you don't really know how to navigate that. So I would love to start building something around that and building a community, and also just having a space where women are able to talk about it and verbalize how they're feeling and feel that they are supported. So I'm not sure what that looks like exactly yet, but that's what I would love to have in
Yeah.
some form or
Yeah, I was thinking
this
it's not
training
uncommon. You know,
system.
one of my other grads, she was a runner and she was a distance runner, so marathons were her thing. She'd done a couple of ultras as well, and she hadn't run for about 16 or 17 months. And as a result, going through the menopause plan, she got up one morning and just decided she was going to go out and start running again. And now she runs 5 days a week, just short runs, but 3 to 5K every day. Well, 5 days, Monday to Friday. And
Yeah.
I just thought it was so lovely to see someone be able to transition back. So I'm excited for all the people you're going to help, not just with running, but with their strength and flexibility as well. Just for people that are listening, do you want to talk through a little bit about what is important when it comes to our physical strength when we become menopausal? So as we transition through perimenopause, become menopausal, why is it that strength training is so important as we get to this time of life?
Yeah, there's so much out there in the media at the moment that I think it can get quite confusing, but I think it can be simplified to, as we are making that transitional period to menopause, when our estrogen is really dropping, that is having an impact on our muscle mass. And yes, the aging process, we are going to lose our muscle mass, men, women, everybody. But during that transitional menopausal period, that decline is a lot quicker. And we need to, so there's two parts. We need to really try and build that muscle so we retain it. So we retain it for our overall everyday strength, but also for our joints, because this is that period when you can start seeing osteopenia, osteoporosis, and strength training, putting that load, putting that power through your muscles, through your joints. Doesn't mean it's going to stop osteopenia or osteoporosis, but it can certainly reduce the risk of getting it. So for our future self, it's incredibly important to have strong, powerful muscles and those strong, powerful joints.
Yeah. And I think one of the things the way I designed the menopause plan was to make sure that it's all based on reducing the inflammation in our bodies, because so much of the inflammation is causing that, for some people, temporary muscle ache, joint pains.
Yeah.
And I know so many people will get in touch and say, I've woken up and literally my joints or my knees or my hips or my wrists or my shoulder, something is just suddenly sudden onset pain in my joint. And actually, when we start working together and we start building the muscle and we start reducing the inflammation in the body, that eases off quite a lot. So there's definitely, testosterone, progesterone, estrogen all play a role in our muscle strength, in the turnover of our bones as well. And all these things are so important, which is why the work that you're doing for me is just so exciting, because you're going to work with people in their mindset, you're going to work on getting them moving and everything else that we cover in the program. So I'm super excited to, point people in your direction and, to find out more. Head over to your website and check out the recommendation you put on LinkedIn as well, because it just gives you a feel for some of the things that Nicole can help support you with as well going forward. So anything I haven't asked you about today that you would like to touch on?
There's nothing that you haven't asked me. I do feel like it's a really exciting time. I feel for myself personally, I needed this because I feel I've been impacted quite a lot by perimenopause and this transition period that I hadn't expected. I thought, even knowing that it happens to everybody, different journey for everybody, but in my head I was like, it will not happen to me. And I was so wrong about that. So I think from a personal level, this course has been really good, but I'm very excited on a business level about what I can to women, and I'm looking forward to this year to really digging into that and seeing what I can offer and who else I can.
Amazing. Nicole, thank you so much for making time to chat today, and
Thanks,
I look forward to following your journey and supporting you all the way.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Women of a Certain Stage. I hope today's episode inspired you to think differently about menopause and the incredible opportunities this stage of life brings. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with 3 friends who need to hear this message. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us reach even more people. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Lauren Turin, or visit our website at womenofacertainstage.com to learn more about menopause coaching, inspiring events, and corporate training. Until next time, let's continue making a difference, one conversation at a time.